In today's episode of Sit Down with Sam, we're going to give you a peek behind the curtain. I want to share the dirt with you. And I've got to tell you, after 23 years of doing this, working with over 10,000 people, I have seen a lot. We're going to not share the stuff that's so pretty. Instead, we're going to talk about turning that microscope around. Let's look at the industry. We're going to talk about mortgage lenders, agents, and the professionals such as attorneys and the people that we deal with. And some of this is going to be the things that maybe we've liked, and maybe some stories that frustrate us beyond belief. I'm excited for today's guest. Amber Kardosh from At Properties has been an agent for over 10 years now, and is probably one of the most driven people that I have met. I didn't even know this when I had first met Amber and started working together. You know, I knew she was an accomplished agent. She was doing a ton of business, great communicator, driven, to say the least. I had no idea. She is probably the fittest person that I've ever met. And I know that's kind of a weird thing to bring up, but you'll see why. Her drive and her commitment are unquestionable. She's completed several ultra marathons. She went through and completed a 50-mile race on a broken foot. So when you want to talk about someone who's committed, look no further. We've got the guest for you. So let's jump right into the episode and let's talk to Amber. Today, I'm excited. I can't tell you how excited I am because, well, it's natural. I'm going to be having a conversation that is pretty much what I do every day. And the reason is that we're going to be sharing the dirt. We're going to be talking about what happens on a day-to-day basis in our industry, when we're working with clients, agents, attorneys, people, and honestly, probably a lot of the things that will piss us off. I'm also incredibly excited today for today's guest. Amber Kardosh from At Properties is joining us. Amber, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. And you said my last name right. I'm so proud of you. No one ever does.
No one does?
No.
If I didn't do my research, then who would I be? You know, that's how we could say that. True. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling all right.
Feeling all right?
Yeah, as good as I can be, given my age, I suppose.
All right, now let's take it easy there. I'm older than you, but no, it's an amazing day. We won't let the rain get us down today. We're gonna get
my hair. The rain let my hair down, but other than that, not my spirit.
You're not the type of person who really lets your spirit get broken easily. Now, in the time that I've gotten to know you, if I was to think of someone who's driven and committed, you know, I would have to admit you're one of the first people who would come to mind. Like you don't seem like the type of person who lets those things get to you.
I usually don't. I feel like I think my situation last year with my ankle being 8 months of just terrible, that broke me. I mean, that actually did chip. I mean, I tried to stay as positive as possible, but like you take the element that I'm like 90% of my day when I'm not working, I'm doing and I couldn't do. And so I think that got me, but ultimately I usually don't let things.
No, I remember I talked to you. There was sometimes I talked to you. You're like, look, I just can't talk today. You're like, I'm just not going to do this now.
I am human. I have emotions.
That's a fun fact. Your ankle and your injury, that was the result of it. Was a 50-mile run that you completed while it was broken?
Well, I didn't know it was broken. I rolled it at 17 and a massive crunch happened and I tied it real tight, my shoe. And I was like, okay, I'm going to finish. And I had to gingerly go down the hills and avoid rocks. But after I found out it was broken, I was like, well, that's a cool story. But then it lasted 8 months. And I'm like, not a cool story anymore.
Yeah, not great. But you did finish.
I did. First in my age group, third overall.
As I said, drive and commitment.
48-minute PR.
Well, I know we don't like to let a lot of things get to us, but the reality is sometimes they do. We're in the real estate profession, right? We're in this industry. We deal with a lot of people. I've worked with so many people, and the reality is that a lot of them are very good, and they're good at what they do, or they're just good people, but not always. So today we're going to be talking about turning things around. Instead of just looking outside at the other people, we're going to talk about the people in our profession, right? People that we work with. And of course, no names will be given. No one will be harmed during this episode, but we're going to share some real stories about that. I think that a good way to start is I'm going to go under fire myself first.
All right.
And this is a story that not a lot of people know. And hopefully I'm not, putting myself in a terrible position here, but here it goes. I'm going to talk about my first deal. When I closed my first transaction, I was a broker. I worked at a mortgage broker shop, right? I ended up becoming one of the owners of this company, actually. But when I got in the industry, I knew nothing about mortgages. I went to school for music. I ended up switching to psychology. I didn't go to school for finance. And I had to learn things, on the fly, trying to figure it out and trying to understand how I was going to make this work. Well, my first closing, when it happened, I'll remember it because the transaction closed, and then my business partner at the time, he wasn't my business partner then, but he was the owner of this company, comes back and he was like laughing. And I'm like, what's so funny? And he's like, you're welcome. I'm like, what do you mean I'm welcome? He's like, you're welcome. He's like, the deal, again, no names, that closed. I do remember it. I will tell you this. He said, yeah. He said, yeah. And he's laughing. I'm like, what's so funny? He's like, I slipped in a point on the front end of that deal. So he charged them 1% of their loan amount, which at the time was about $3,200 that they had not agreed to pay. You got to keep in mind, this is going back into 2001 into 2002. We were not as regulated then. Good thing we're regulated now.
Yeah.
When you think about this, because this passed, right? There's a name for it. It's called predatory lending.
Yes, I'm familiar.
All right. Now, I'll be honest though, completely against me as a person. I was mortified. It wasn't about the money. And I have to tell you, I needed the money. I really did. I was super broke. But at the same time, I was somewhat destroyed. I was like, I can't believe you would do that because this is my reputation. And he's like, they don't know. It doesn't matter. He had all these things to say. Fun fact about karma, whether you believe it or not, that deal did not fund because on a refinance, you have a 3-day rescission period. So someone can cancel the deal. And what had happened is that the couple, they got in a fight. The loan was only in the wife's name.
Oh.
The husband, although it's so funny because I've seen many memes that says if a woman tells you they're fine, they're not fine.
Oh, that's so true.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, in this case,
100%.
this is the opposite. The guy was saying, it's fine. And what had happened at the closing table is he kind of blew up. He said, no, it's fine. You own the house anyway. Because he was, his pride was hurt. He wasn't on the mortgage. So the
typical
day after,
male.
Yeah.
Pride gets hurt, all goes downhill.
It happens. We're sensitive. We're human too. And, but they canceled. So they rescinded on the deal.
Wow.
I got them back to the closing table, fast forward. And when I got them back to the closing table, I was able to remove the point. And I didn't explain it. They just understood they needed less money. Mm-hmm. So when I have to think of people in this industry and things that bother me, I think of people, the reasons why we have so many types of guidelines in lending and the fact that unknowingly, but still absolutely taking responsibility for it, I was one of the worst.
Unethical.
Right? Unethical. Not a great way to handle business.
No.
But
and unfortunately, that happens so often in our industry. And people in our industry is like, why are people like so against real estate agents? Well, that's when you hear these things, it's like, that's why people don't trust us. And it kills me because I pride myself on being truthful and honest and genuine and ethical. And I just feel like even if it's something hard, like that's what you should do. Right. This is your job to have your clients trust that you have their best interest the whole time.
That you're looking out for them.
And I've had situations where I'm like, wow, like even on the listing side, not so much now because obviously the listings are going, well, in most places going like hotcakes, regardless, where it is. But in normal markets, like I've had clients come to me after they were at an open house. They're like, yeah, the listing agent was there. And he was like, we asked if parking was included. He's like, just pretend. Send me an offer, just pretend. And I was like, they said what now? And she's like, yeah, so I guess, so it's like agents do things to get offers. And to me, if I was a seller and I heard that, I would be completely like, I do not want to work with this person anymore.
I would imagine.
Saying how motivated. That's the part too. When agents are like, sellers are motivated. Right. And you're like, okay, what does that tell you? As a buyer's agent, you're like, they're motivated? Cool. Let's send them a lower offer. They're motivated. For sure. When they get the offer, then they put on their big, their high horse. Like, oh, what do you mean? They spent this when they bought it and look at the comps. I go, dude, why did you tell me they were motivated?
Right. The agent is motivated to get an offer through the door.
So it's stuff like that. That's not, to me, that falls in the unethical, column is because like, do your job, market it properly, tell your clients it's not priced well. Right. Or, hey, the market is this. I know you paid this, but it was 08 or whatever. You have to tell them the truth. And if it means like they don't want to work with you because they don't like what they're hearing, someone else is going to tell them what they want to hear. Let them.
You've been doing this for over 10 years now. Do you think that it's changed? Has it gotten any better? Or do you think that as far as the practice of these types of ethics in business, does it seem like it's pretty much carried through from when you started to where we're at now?
I feel like a lot has changed even recently with processes, right? But I don't think I think agents, at least there's a lot of agents who still continue to act a certain way. I'm baffled by how mean people can be. Like in this business, we're a people business. Like we're supposed to be like, hello. Yet more often than not, I have people come to me getting snooty, yelling at me. And I'm like, why are you yelling? And then they get mad because I question. Yes.
These are like your colleagues.
Why are you yelling at me? I'm not yelling. Well, your volume is at an 8. I need you at a 2. And so like, I'm like, I'm not going to talk to you until you can talk to me like a human.
Right.
Because my 12-year-old can talk better than you can right now. So I'm going to let you go. And then she calls me back, speaking specifically on a certain situation, but like that's happened a lot. And it makes me like, it hurts my heart being in an industry that I do love what I do. And yes, have I told people that they don't like things that they don't want to hear? And ultimately they're like, oh, okay, well, we're going to go in a different direction. Okay.
Right.
I'll let you do that. If you're going to get someone if they're going to want the listing that bad, or they're going to want to work with, they need the business so bad, they're going to tell you everything you want to hear. If that's what you want to work with, go ahead.
Right.
And in this market, you can. Like anybody can list anything, in my opinion, in most places. It doesn't matter who you are or what your track record is, it'll sell. Not everywhere, but for a lot of places.
Right.
But I am excited for the market to shift into a normalized and even buyer's market. Let's see where the skill sets lie and what you're actually doing and how you're actually approaching clients, instead of just saying, sure, yep, because it's going to sell. You don't have to really do anything.
We were just talking about this actually, about how some people, agents in this case, because that's what we're talking about, are really good at sales. And I don't mean selling properties. I mean selling the people on using their services, but then they're actually not very good agents.
No.
I mean, I see this a lot.
Yeah.
I used to have a joke, and this is terrible. I'm sorry.
Like jokes.
Yeah, no, you're not going to like this one.
Oh.
It doesn't apply to you for what it's worth.
But it's about agents.
I've been frustrated before, and I've been in this industry. We deal with a lot on the lending side. We have to run math and do lots of fun financial things and try to figure things out. And I maybe at one point in time had said that some agents were lucky that they invented Velcro, or else they'd never be able to tie their shoes.
Ouch. Ouch.
That's all right. Slip-ons work as well.
I have those on today.
It was, it's not a nice thing to say. And yeah, it's out of frustration. But the reality is that there's so many people really good at selling themselves. But then when it comes to actual interaction, they're not very good at what they do as far as communication, understanding the market, how to show their value, improve that value, and to be able to determine ultimately a better value for that client, right?
Yeah. Or actually go through the transaction and be a part of it, instead of going, all right, we're under contract. I'll wait until we're closer to clear to close or closer to closing, and then ask questions you should have asked like 3 weeks ago, and they go dark. There's so many agents that literally go dark after they're really like on you, like our offer and this and that and this and that. As soon as it's executed, you're like, hello, I haven't had a phone call from your lender for the appraiser. What's going on? And I have to like constantly like a phone call and email, and I don't hear for 3 days. And they're like, oh yeah, sorry. So to me, I'm going, that's not a good agent. I was working recently with an agent who, I know we're saying annoying stuff, but like it was a refreshing interaction that I haven't had in a long time. She was on it, like calling me, texting me every minute something happened during the transaction. She was telling me about it.
Okay.
And as a listing agent, I thoroughly appreciate that. Like, was
she an experienced agent or a newer agent?
No, she's been in the business for a long time. But that doesn't matter, because I've also had negative like situations where you've been in the business 20 plus years, and I'm like, how?
Right.
But I was like, wow, she is just on it. And it actually helped, because my client had a home sale contingency.
Right.
And as you know, in this market, good luck.
It can be tough.
But I was able to confidently go out to the listing agent and say, look, I know this is not ideal in this market, but this agent has literally been on point since day one.
It makes a difference.
It does. And it was part of that, obviously, our offer too. But like ultimately it was like they were comfortable and in my reputation, but also trusting that I'm trusting what I say, right? Instead of like, oh, they're communicating. Like when you have trust with other agents, they know you know what you're talking about.
Yep.
They'll trust you. So that's why like trust is so important. And the fact that people are so, unethical when they do, throw things on, they won't see it. That's just,
It's really
so
hard.
sad.
Yeah, it's really hard. You know, the one thing I think staying in that same train of thought too that gets me, and this falls in line with clients as well, you know, so we're not just talking about, we're talking about everyone involved here, right? Attorneys, clients, agents. It's the blame game.
You missed lenders.
Yeah.
Just so you said you were naming everyone.
That's right.
But
The lenders.
lenders.
But they're usually the ones being blamed.
Very annoying too, but go on.
Oh, we're going to get into that. But the blame game seems to happen a lot. Inevitably, sometimes things happen in this business, right? And you know what? I'm thankful for that. If it wasn't for that, we probably wouldn't have our jobs. If it was easy, maybe we wouldn't be needed in this. But it's when something comes up and when it does happen, some people are and other parties involved are so quick to be like, well, how did this happen? Why did this happen? What's going on? When, you know, my focus has always been like, okay, how do we fix this first?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get to that. Like, we're gonna get there. I want to know why this happened because I don't ever want it to happen again.
Yeah, right.
But that's not going to help us move forward. Right. That's not going to help us get to where we go. And I see that. So it's always interesting when you run into those types of situations. So speaking of lenders, then, can you think of, you got a story, got something you can share about maybe one of your less favorable interactions with a lender?
I feel like, you know, I have a good relationship with a handful of lenders, but when, you know, ultimately you can't make your clients use you or anybody else. Like they're going to use who they want to use, and that's fine. But my pet peeve is when they use the easiest route, and I try to explain to them, like, listen, if it was that easy to get your letter, did you talk to someone? They're like, no, I just went online and I'm like, why is that even a thing as a lender? Like, why is it that someone can actually go and get a pre-approval online without talking to anyone?
Right. Going through and setting it up without any verification whatsoever. Like,
that shouldn't even be allowed. You should be able to go like you do on Zillow to pretend you know what your house is worth. You're like, okay, cool. You can pretend you know how much you can spend, but then actually talk to someone who knows and is professional about it, right? So I think that is my pet peeve with lending, how they make it so easy for buyers because, you know, but I also look at the letter and I'm going, no, you need to talk to someone. If you don't, we need an actual letter. If you did not talk to someone, I don't trust those numbers.
Can you imagine the world we live in if it was everyone used online pre-approvals that they got in a minute and then they sold their home based off of a Zillow estimate. Zestimate. Is that right? It's Zestimate, right?
Zestimate.
If they go based off of this and that's all they ever use and never depended on professionals whatsoever, you'd be in a position where you'd have a lot of deals falling apart.
Yeah.
You know, that's ultimately what would happen.
Yeah, I think that, but that's a process, not a lender specific. I think lender not knowing where things are at. And I think you do a really good job about, you know, giving touch points on, okay, we're here, it's here and here. And like, if I have to reach out to the lender, that infuriates me because the last thing I need is yet another thing to worry about. Like, you know, there's so many check marks in every transaction. Okay, I got to do this, this, and this. Right. But if I know that I have a lender, like he's going to tell me that we're clear to close. He's going to tell me where it is in underwriting or we need this. And I think the biggest pet peeve is when I get a lender who asks me for something that clearly they didn't have at the beginning. They asked 3 days before closing. Oh, yeah, the lead-based paint wasn't given. And I go, I gave you all that stuff like 2 months ago, and now you're asking 3 days until closing that you don't have it. Like, and again, I'm sure it's fine, but it's just one of those things I never understood that.
Yeah, or they tell
and
you that.
Maybe you could tell me there's a rhyme or reason and I'll feel better and I'll go home like, cool, I'm not mad about that anymore. But
it's usually blamed on an underwriter. There's poor underwriters in our business.
They're always blamed.
It's like a 4-letter word. Like really it is because anytime something comes up and, you know, I've heard it from people, they'll be like, oh, this didn't work out. Because they'll do a lot of rescue deals. And they'll be like, yeah, the underwriter said this. The loan officer told me the underwriter said this. And I'm just like, yeah, okay. I'm like, I'm sorry, but that's the loan officer's fault. That's not the underwriter.
It's good to point blame on other people.
It is. No, I think it makes it easier. I think that, and that's unfortunately that's the type of industry we're in. Though there are a lot of people who are very good at selling, and that happens on the lender side. I know we said there's agents who are good at this, but I run into this all the time. Lenders are very good at selling themselves, but not very good at the job. And you know what? How can I blame them? I had to be that person. I'll admit it. When I started in the business, I didn't know what I was doing. I was learning. I'll tell you, I was driven to understand it, and I never wanted to put someone in a bad position. But I had to figure it out, and it was tough. But I was good at convincing people that they should talk to me at that time. It's 23 years, by the way. It's been a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah, no, I've learned a lot in this time frame. What What about attorneys? It's interesting in a transaction. Like, you know what? I'll give you somewhat of an analogy or comparison.
Okay.
Have you ever met someone who's a doctor and you don't address them properly and they let you know to call them doctor because they didn't spend that much time in school to be called sir or Mr. or Mrs.? I sometimes in the transactions, I have worked with attorneys who their pedigree comes through, right? Like, I went to school for this. You don't know what you're doing as a lender, or the agents. No one knows what's going on here other than me, because I actually have a degree and this is what I've done. There's not really a lending degree. There's licensing, but that's it.
Yeah.
Have you had any run-ins with attorneys that have, for better or worse? Maybe you have a really good story, but if not, if you have a bad story, something you can tell me about an attorney.
I am fortunate over the course, at least in the short, probably year or two, majority of my transactions, my clients trust enough to use my attorney.
Okay.
And I explain why. It's not like I get a bonus like tip from him, or I don't get anything. All I tell them is like, it'll allow me to know exactly what's happening the whole time.
Right. And they're being looked out for. And
he will copy me. I'm on the phone with him on a daily, if not, all the time. Hey, what's happening? What's going on? And I think it speaks volume, because the pet peeve in attorney world, in the off chance that I have people who are wanting to use whoever, they don't say anything to me.
Right.
They don't copy me on anything. They don't. And it's going, okay, I don't know where everything is. And if I have to go to my client to figure out what's going on, I'm finding out things too late. And that is when things start going sideways, deals fall apart, people are all up in arms. And then it's like, it does happen. It does matter. So I've been fortunate enough, David and I have worked for almost 5 years, I think.
This is David Frank, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course. I know that.
Yes. And he's like, I joke that he's like my work husband, because like we bicker like husband and wife, but like it's also like, I'm like, you didn't do this. He's like, okay, yeah, you're right. All right, I'll do it better next time. And he'll come at me, but like, well, you should have done this. I'm like, right. Fair. Because I know I'm not perfect. But I mean, we at least bounce things off of each other. Then we claim like, next time we can't let this happen again.
Right. When the client comes through and Uncle Jim is their attorney, and Uncle Jim has been an attorney for 72 years and never actually closed a real estate transaction.
He's not even a real estate attorney.
No, not at all. It's the equivalent of I hate to say this, the father showing up for the inspection, and they're a contractor, or they do whatever they do, and they immediately show up at the inspection and kill the deal because of something that's completely out of context, or even they're not correct, right? A lot of memes out there, a lot of stories people share about the home inspectors. Something I found with working with some attorneys too is there's another side to it where I've worked with on some deals where I can tell that they don't like what they do. Like, they were probably watching Law and Order the night before. They want to be in a courtroom, but let's face it, they couldn't cut it. That's it. This is where they're at. And I'm not saying real estate's any easier. I'm just saying that I can tell from the communication style, like, this person wants to be a litigator, and they're not. And they're taking it out on everyone in the transaction. Yeah. That tends to be, that's a fun ride. So I think the moral of the story there is, if anyone's ever looking for an attorney, make sure you get someone with experience. That's
funny that you said they were watching Law and Order. I think people get into real estate because they see House Hunters. Oh, yeah. Or Selling Sunset. They're like, cool, they're pretty and they have nice cars and look at all these houses. I want to be a real estate agent. I'm like, right. I think you care more about being on benches and billboards than actually doing your job, for my opinion, and a lot of people, because just of how they are with, the transaction. It's terrible, and it makes it so much harder than it needs to be. But you just got to laugh. Like, I got to do my best, and I can't worry. Like, it just makes me have to work even harder to make sure things don't go sideways. And like, it's funny because I'll even reach out to the other side's attorney if my client's using an attorney that is not mine, because I can't get an email, a call back, or anything from this guy. I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
You're actually going to the seller, I'm going the other side's representation. Or the buyer's attorney. I'm like, hey, where are we at with this? And of course they're like, you should be going to your attorney. I'm like, yeah, I hear you, but I haven't talked to him since March 23rd. And here we are getting ready to close in May or something. It's like, and again, it's, I don't think of it's a control issue. It's more like,
I think it's important for us to be somewhat controlling in our transactions so that we know what's happened so that we can pivot and do whatever we need to do.
Yeah.
Whereas other people, like attorneys, think that they are holier than thou and like, how dare you ask me? Like, let me do my job. And I'm like, okay. So going back to your superiority complex, like, cool. But I need to help you because attorneys make things fall apart. They make really mountains out of molehills. And I'm like, dude, like, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
But David is good about not doing that. But like the attorneys that I don't know well, a lot of them end up doing that.
Yeah, it's tough.
Because they think they're being like, I'm going to protect my client. I'm like, cool, I want to protect mine. But you're also making it so unnecessarily out of proportion. So
I use the psychology, I think, of whenever me and my wife are having a discussion and maybe we're not getting along, even though we get along all the time because she's amazing and she is right.
Oh, that was a good plug.
She's pretty much always right.
I hope she listens to this.
She's never going to watch this. But I think about when you're like same team. I've actually said it before because I know we're both stressed out and been like, look, we're on the same team. We're trying to get to the same place. And I know on a real estate transaction, you're not technically on the same team, but we are all in it together, right? Mm-hmm. We all want the same thing.
Sure.
Everyone wants their clients to be happy, to get what they want, to get to that closing table successfully.
I agree.
So these, when you're dealing with these types of professionals that really, demonstrate these interesting types of situations, then it makes our job much more difficult.
So do you have any stories? I gave you attorney. Like, I feel like
I've got a lot of stories.
I know I'm in the hot seat as your guest, but I'd like to know.
I've got a lot of stories. I've dealt with a lot of people, and it's I tell you, I'll share with one that I witnessed. All right, and this is going to be on the client side.
I'm going to get comfy. I'm going to listen to it.
This is a real quick and easy one. We had it wasn't my client actually. We were in the office. This was when people went into the office a lot more, and I was witness to a conversation. The client was upset.
Okay.
Their loan had been clear to close in 2 days. They were upset because of that, because they felt that they should not be paying the same amount as someone else who it took 2 weeks. So they were arguing, calling to get fees waived to get a credit. It was a negotiation tactic, basically. But I'm not even kidding you when I tell you that they kept various members of that team on the phone for over an hour to just try and talk about getting a credit. At that time, it was for like $1,290 is what they wanted. They wanted no lender's fees because their deal must have been that easy. And it wasn't that it was that easy. It was just based off of the experience level of that team. It wasn't my team, but this team was very good at what they do, obviously. And it was an interesting situation because I think that it's so tough. And I get it for people. They're not in this every day, right? I always make that mistake of thinking that when I use words, appraisal, I mean, different words, I always make the mistake that people know what I'm talking about because I see it day in and day out. So I understand their position and maybe this is the way they negotiate. But that was something that I'll never forget. Now, I will tell you my personal pet peeve.
Ooh, you have
now,
a
this
personal
is, and
pet
again,
peeve.
this
is this in general, not real estate, or just?
No, this is in general.
Okay.
Or no, sorry, this is real estate, and this is going back onto the buyers that I work with, and it's essentially what'll happen is you'll be working with someone and you'll put in all the effort you can, and I get it. That's part of the job. Your goal is to try and show your value, make someone feel comfortable, so that ultimately at the end of the day, they choose you as their service. We're like an airline now, right? I always joke and say we're in customer service. We just happen to do real estate.
We're an airline.
Well, when they say, thank you for flying with us, I know you've had a choice, and picking any airline. And I get that. Like, I totally get that. But when it's become like a bad joke amongst my team, because what happens is that you work with someone for 3 months. You've done countless pre-approvals for them on Saturdays because it's an emergency, because they never thought they were going to spend this much, but now we have to update the approval. We have to do different things. Fine. It's part of it. I love doing that for my clients, actually. I think that it's part of the job. And you almost feel like you're in it together.
Yeah.
Until they go under contract, and then they say, it's like, I don't understand who's handing out this playbook, because it's out there.
Yeah.
You get the same thing that people say every time. In full transparency. As soon as I hear that, I know exactly what's coming.
Yeah.
I'm shopping around my lenders and looking to make sure I get the best deal, because ultimately that's the best thing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because over the years, I've had to learn how to conduct myself in that, because I take this very seriously. I'm very passionate about what I do. I work hard for people. And, it's hard. It's hard not to let it get to you sometimes.
Yeah.
I expect people to shop, but I expect people to shop 42 pre-approvals earlier than that, out of the 172 pre-approvals that I did.
Yeah.
Not, when we've gone through, done everything, got up to the closing table. And, I had someone recently where this happened. Again, I get it. Part of the process. Great. I take it in stride now. Like, I'm just like, okay, great. Let's talk about that.
You build a callus.
Of course. Yeah. Just to be like, oh, well, how are we going to, let's make sure you're happy. Ultimately, I want them to buy their home. If it's not with me, great. I would prefer it's with me. But, I had a client. Just happened. Client was like, listen, they ended up, I thought there was no way that they were going with a different lender. They were like, listen, we're just checking to make sure if your deal's even not the lowest, you've done they said it, you've done so much together. We really want to work with you. That was the last phone call I had with this person, but they wanted me to match their interest rate. They're like, can you match this lower rate if we find it? And I said, sure, let me know what's out there. I'll do what I can. We don't get paid on the interest rate. That's a fun fact. Higher, lower interest rate, I don't make any more money. So I want to give them the lowest interest rate, but then they come back and I got the email that you get, which is, we've decided to go in another direction. And I was floored. Very nice guy. I got him on the phone. I was like, hey, I'll be honest, I'm really surprised. What happened? And he said, honestly, it's just the relationship. And I said, what do you mean the relationship? He's like, well, my wife, her friend, this is a friend of her friend who, is in the industry. Now, behind the scenes, I know that friend of the friend just pulled their credit. Like, I know this person has not been involved for a long time. And based on the conversation, I could tell they've never had a conversation with this person up until right then.
Got it.
Right. So this relationship that they had, and it's all about the relationship. And it's just one of those pet peeves where I'm like, I got to tell you, it gets you when you put all the work in and you're like, this is what we're trying to do. Right. And it's hard because you want people to get a good deal and you want people to be comfortable and you want them to see the value in what we do. But it's not easy.
Well, I have a question for you. I'm going to put you in the hot seat.
Oh, please.
This is your show, but I like to turn around and make it about me. So it's going to be my show for a minute.
Let me get ready. Okay.
Now, we're talking about what annoys us in our industry. Out of all the people that you have to deal with, agents, clients, attorneys, what have you, who annoys you the most? Not individuals.
It's not fair. All right. It has to be the agents because I deal with a lot of them and it's usually on the other side. I work with a lot of amazing agents. I work with a lot of people really good at what they do. But I have had some conversations where it drives you nuts because, again, we put a lot of pride in what we do, right? Yeah. We're driven. We want to do a good job. And when I talk to someone and they clearly do not care to learn what they need to, it makes it very difficult, especially when they take it from this authoritative position, and truth be told, as a lender, a lot of times we're not treated the best. Like, I know it's sad, isn't it? Don't you feel bad for me?
Well, I think none of us are treated great.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? I'm sure.
I mean, I should say
it goes both ways, right?
It goes both ways, but I don't think it's not all the time, right? You get people who give you hugs and kudos. And
there are.
Okay.
Well, we were talking about this. We were just talking about this. You mentioned how you had a client and you wanted to have coffee with them afterwards, and they did not want to.
I was so sad. So it's funny because you say I don't let things get to me. This job, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I take everything like personally because I care so much. So if my client, and I learned this a long time ago. My second year, I think I was telling you, I follow up. I have a couple of funny stories. I follow up my clients. I want to know what's going on. I want to know how little Jimmy's doing. Hey, you bought Toto. How's he doing? Like, I want to know how your life is going. I've been invited to weddings. I have one in June coming up. I'm really excited for that. The guy I met through my old job, his mom worked for the same company as me. Fast forward to now, it's just cool. It's cool to be a part of all these milestones.
Those are relationships, and you've been a big part of their life.
Yeah, and so it speaks volume, and it warms my heart when I get an invitation to weddings. I'm going to 2 this year.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm like, absolutely, I'm going. But then you have clients who not necessarily, I learned this, again, second year in. I was like, hey, how are things going? Checking in, ghosting. I'm like, well, they sent me a good review. I'm like, you want a coffee? Sending them a card. Here, have a coffee on me. But honestly, can we have a coffee together? Nothing. I'm like, man, they do not like me. So it killed me. Fast forward a year later, I stopped. I think I followed up one other time in the year, and I was like, all right, well, I did something. Chalk it up as newbie and move on.
Better learn.
I get an email. Hey, Amber, we're actually looking to move, so we need you to sell our place and help us buy. I was like, oh, okay. That's okay. And then I was like, they don't hate me. That's great. So but it has nothing. So I had to learn over time, like to not take things so personally and think it's about me.
Right.
Even because my husband tells me it's not always about you. I like to pretend it is sometimes. Just kidding. But like, I just feel like some people they know you did a good job. It's not that they don't want to get to know you, but their life and everything is busy and they're trying to get together with their normal people.
Right.
And in your mind, you are one of those normal people. Like you have your sister, your aunt, and then you have your real estate agent. I feel like that's the lineup of importance in your family, in my mind.
I see.
In my mind. So it's like when you don't.
That's a good order there.
Yeah.
Of things.
Sister, aunt, real estate agent, and then maybe your second cousin, your grandma, and those people. But I just think that I care so much about my clients. I have a funny story. I have a client who we're good friends now, but I helped her move here from California in 2020, no, 19, and helped her buy a house. We'd be like, hey, you want to grab coffee? You want to do this? And she's like, oh, I can't. And then she told me later, she goes, yeah, I was like, why is she trying to sell my house already? And she goes, her husband goes, maybe she wants to be your friend. And she goes, I didn't even think about that. So I think genuinely people just don't think beyond the transaction. They're like, what do you want? I don't need to sell or buy. And I've had people say that to me recently.
Right.
I'll let you know you did a great job. I'm going to refer you, but I don't need to have coffee with you.
Right.
And that's fine. But I'm going to continue to give them value add. I'm going to continue to tell them, hey, you don't have your homeowner's exemption. Hey, appeal your taxes. Hey, because that touch point is important instead of maybe having a coffee with me. So
sure, no, it's interesting. I commend you on that. I love my clients, but I don't want to have coffee with them.
Really?
Yeah,
I can't tell you how many times I get a phone call from 8,000 lenders, and not them directly. It's their like minion person who is like, hello, this is Bob Smith's office, and they'd like to have a coffee with you. Would you like to schedule? I'm like, first of all, no. Second of all, I would consider it if Bob called me directly.
Right.
So how impersonal is that? Like, you're calling, to me, if you're looking for business lenders.
Yes.
So take notes. If you're looking for business, don't go to seasoned agents. Like, to me, go to the 8,000 people who think it's easy and are just signed up lately. Like, go to the people who don't have lenders. Because I don't have, and again, I think about that because of the coffee thing. I don't have time to have coffee with lenders.
Just have coffee with random conversations.
I want to have coffee with people that matter to me. And a lot of lenders don't matter. At this point in my life.
Quote that. A lot of lenders don't matter.
Don't matter. I'm looking in the camera. Yeah. So it's just funny.
It's never lost on me.
That you said you don't want to have coffee, but you're a lender, and that's literally what
I have a lot of coffee. I drink decaf a lot now, and I've had a lot of coffee appointments and still do all the time. I like coffee. Don't get me wrong. I like the meetings with business and talking about it because and I think actually in a different context, if it was clients who wanted to have coffee before, I think that would be more apt. But once we're done, I want to follow up with the same value, do things with them. I love talking to people. Like I'm a people person. But at the same time, I mean, sometimes it's just tough. There's too many hours in the day. But it's not
agree.
lost to me when I have coffee with an agent that it's the most cliche thing in the world, right?
It's talk about pet peeves. Ugh, every time. Because, I get calls on, do I need insurance? Do I need some more lending? Nope. Do I need, I don't know, a dog? I don't know. I get spam up the wazoo all the time.
Poor Toto. No one needs Toto.
I use Toto. My dog growing up was named Toto. And he looked like Toto from the Wizard of Oz. So it's either Little Jimmy referencing a kid or Toto. Little Jimmy, I have no idea. That just sounded good and then rolled off the tongue. So that's why I said that. But
well, I think that regardless of where you fall in this, right, whether you're an agent, a lender, client, customer, attorneys, I know there's a lot that goes on that's good and there's a lot that's bad. But the reality is we're all people. We do live in our own worlds and what we try to pull together on this. And we're all just trying to get to the same point. But I got to tell you, within that little world, my world is better because you joined us today. I really appreciate you coming out today to talk through some of this, sharing some stories. Fun. It really is. And I definitely want to have you back because there's so many more things we could talk about, right? But for now, we'll leave it at this. And, I really appreciate you coming out.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yep.